I'm at a BurgerFi location today. BurgerFi is based in North Palm Beach, and I'm with the new president, relatively new president of BurgerFi, Charlie Guzzetta. Charlie, welcome and thank you for joining us at Palm Beach Atlantic University and helping us with principles of franchising. So let's start at something that's very obvious. Are you out of college, Charlie? You're a young guy. You could be one of my students at the Titus Center.
Yes.
And you're the president of a booming, growing franchise, 8 years of franchising, on the cusp of going public with this company.
That's right.
How'd this happen, Charlie?
Well, thank you, John. I appreciate you guys being here, and we're excited to be a part of this today. You know, I've been very fortunate to be part of a rapidly growing brand. BurgerFi, we started in 2011. Actually, it was a Burger King for about 12 years, the first unit in Lauderdale by the Sea, Florida, which, if you've never been to Lauderdale by the Sea, Florida, it's a sleepy little retiree beach town. Yeah. It's about the size of this table, and it's known for northerners to come down and vacation in winter. The Burger King had been there 12 years. We took over the site in September of 2010, and we began developing that first BurgerFi restaurant. And along the way, people said to us that we're crazy. They said, how does a brand like Burger King, with 25,000 units globally, and everybody knows Burger King, unable to survive in this location, and yet you guys, Burger what? Burger FL, Burger FI, are gonna come in and try to survive. And the long story short is that we took over the space. We spent about $600,000 to open up and convert that Burger King into the first BurgerFi. And in our first year of operations, we did 3 times more in top line revenue than the Burger King had done in the best year of the 12 years that they were operating there previously. So we knew we had something special. We opened up the second store later that year, about 40 miles up the road here in Delray Beach, Florida. And in 2012, we started franchising. So I think, to your original question, I was in the right place at the right time. I was part of a brand that was rapidly growing, that had a lot of excitement behind it, a lot of motivation behind it, a lot of energy. Consumers were just going crazy for our product and our brand and what we stood for. And I was able to join the team and rise in the ranks.
So what was it that made BurgerFi successful when a Burger King, which is a great franchise network as well,
absolutely,
around forever.
Absolutely.
How did that happen? It's hamburgers. Why BurgerFi worked, Burger King didn't work? Same location.
Yeah, I think it has to do with the product. It starts with the beef. Right? A place called BurgerFi, the star of the show is the burgers. And what we were doing differently from day one to where we are today is that we started with an all-natural product. We wanted to create a brand that the purpose and goal of the company was to redefine the way the world eats burgers. And that starts with the natural product. So our beef is 100% American Angus beef. No steroids, hormones, antibiotics, chemicals or additives, fillers or preservatives, artificial colors or flavors. It's vegetarian, grass-fed, free-range, humanely raised, and of course, never frozen. There's a common misconception in the burger industry, which is a lot of places tout having fresh beef. And to many consumers, they associate fresh beef with quality premium beef. But it's actually a misnomer. Fresh beef only means that the beef is never frozen. Whereas at BurgerFi, the idea of fresh beef is the bare minimum. We take it many more steps above that with an all-natural product, a free-range product, an NAE product, and NAE is no antibiotics ever. And to pair with the burgers, we have russet Burbank, Idaho potatoes, genuine from Idaho, that we cut fresh daily and serve as our French fries. We use jumbo Spanish colossal onions for our onion rings. We serve craft beer and wine, and we have premium frozen custard. So I think that was a lot of the success in the early days, was consumers were looking for a healthier, natural, quality product. And you have brands like Panera and like Chipotle being very successful in their respective genre of food, and doing something very similar in that natural, clean, transparent, organic type of a light. And so what we tried to do at BurgerFi was serve the classic American meal of burgers, fries, and a drink, but doing it in that natural, sustainable, clean, and transparent way. And it worked out for us, and we're seeing the results now.
So you understand at BurgerFi that consumers pay attention.
Absolutely.
That they not only have preferences of whether they're going to have chicken or they're going to have beef or they're going to have vegetarian, but there are other nuances to how that food is prepared that makes a difference to a consumer. And somehow BurgerFi identified that.
Absolutely. Look, consumer trends have changed. The idea of healthy, natural lifestyle is no longer just for California. It's no longer just a fad or a trend. It's a way of life. And consumers have told us that in their choices and their preferences. People are looking for healthier, natural, quality food. They have a healthy, active lifestyle, and they're willing to pay a few more dollars when they go and eat in order to get food that meets that same requirement. Gone are the days of where young families and millennials and certainly Gen Z want to eat frozen gray hockey pucks filled with pink slime. The ability to research a brand or research a product is now within seconds from your smartphone, and consumers are wise enough to do that. And I think what they've been able to tell us in the trends and in their behaviors and habits is that they want a quality product in a fast casual environment that is easy to come into and enjoy, easy to take out and dine at their convenience.
So what's the, as you mentioned before, is it FL or is it FI? So it's BurgerFi, but it looks like it could be Burger Florida.
Yeah.
And the logo looks like it could be Texas with a star.
Well,
so what is BurgerFi? What's that mean?
I think along the way we've probably been called everything under the sun, from BurgerFi to Burger Florida to BurgerFi to Burger Semperfi. There's been a lot of kind of mischaracterization, but it is BurgerFi, and it stands for burgerification. So like clarify and clarification, simplify and simplification, you have BurgerFi and burgerification. And the definition of burgerification is redefining the way the world eats burgers. And that's exactly what we're trying to do.
Right. So one of the things we want to talk about is why franchising is a better model for a company like BurgerFi to explode across the United States, to expand its logo, to expand its footprint. Why choose franchising as a model? Why not go the route of a Chipotle, which is not a franchise?
Sure.
Starbucks in the United States, mostly not a franchise, or a Whole Foods or a Macy's. They take a corporate-driven approach to expanding their business, but in franchising, we don't do that. We use the time and the talent and the money of lots of other people to expand the footprint. Is that better? Is it not? Does it not matter? It's just what it is? Why franchising?
Yeah, so, as I said, BurgerFi, we started 9 years ago. We've been franchising for about 8. We have today about 125 units open and operating in 20 different states and 40 different markets. And of those 125 units, only 20 of our units are corporate owned. The other 105 or so are franchise. So the reason why we were able to get to a 125 unit chain in only 8.5 years or so is because of the franchise model, because we were able to partner with successful business entrepreneurs all around the country in different markets, in different areas, in different cities, with different unique backgrounds and successes in a wide range of industries, has allowed our brand to build and develop to the point where we're at today. And a lot of that was on the backs of our franchisees. As you said, franchising allows a brand to expand greater, faster, and simultaneously, rather than us look to build 2 corporate stores nearby to each other in a single market at one time. We could have 10 franchisees simultaneously developing in 10 different markets or cities or trade areas around the country. And that scalability was exactly what we were looking for. We knew we had a product that consumers would get behind, and the consumers told us that in their behaviors, in their frequency, in their purchasing power. And the ability to franchise early on allowed us to get to more markets, to tap into more trade areas, and to reach more consumers at a larger, wider, faster scale. And then the capital side of it as well. You know, we're in the process of going public now, and maybe we'll get to talk about that in a few minutes. But for all these years, we've been an independent private company, and we have not brought in outside capital or financial resources. The company virtually has zero debt in the 9 years that we've been operating. And so to be able to finance a company in a way to grow the business allowed us to become a franchise so that we were able to scale at that level while still organically growing our corporate side of the business. And that's why today, as I said, we have 20 units open and operating on the corporate side, and we have about 105 units open and operating on the franchise side.
The founder of the concept, BurgerFi, talk about his idea and how did he, why burgers?
Yeah.
Why BurgerFi? Why franchising?
So the founder of our company, a gentleman named John Rosati, started in the private car dealership industry up in Brooklyn, New York, and did very, very well for himself. Semi-retired, although entrepreneurs never fully retire, down in Palm Beach Gardens, and opened up a high-end Italian restaurant with his mother's recipes. He did very well, and he had a strong restaurant team and partners surrounding him to help him develop that concept and build that concept. And later down the line, he opened up a high-end gastropub here in Delray Beach, Florida, and some of your students might know it. It's called The Office on Atlantic Avenue. And in those first couple of days of opening the restaurant in 2008 called The Office in Delray Beach, they were looking at the product mix, 30 days out, 60, 90, 120 days out. And at the time they were serving Wagyu beef ribeyes, they were serving cowboy steaks, they were serving fresh fish and double cut pork chops, and a $21 burger. And they were looking at the product mix and they saw the majority of their sales were coming from this $21 burger and craft beer. And they have about 45 craft beers on tap. They said, wow, this is unbelievable. We're serving all these high-end cuts and these unbelievable proteins, and yet people are still opting into buying a cheeseburger and a craft beer. Now, how can we do that in a more affordable way and a more value-driven way? Because not everybody wants to spend $21 on a burger, right? So, and coming off the heels of successful chains such as Chipotle and Panera and even Shake Shack for that matter, they realized that there was a niche. There wasn't a strong regional player down here in the southeastern United States and certainly Florida, and it created an opportunity for BurgerFi to get started.
And did he know anything about franchising at the time?
No, so he, again, was surrounded by a group of strong, highly qualified and successful restaurateurs. And I think what is probably most unique about the executive team and the founding team of BurgerFi is none of those restaurateurs ever worked a single day in fast food. So the idea of preheat, pre-cook, heat lamps and microwaves did not exist in their mind. They were never trained that way. They worked in high-end, fine dining, upscale, and therefore the recipes and the product mix that they brought to the BurgerFi system was under that mindset. So our veggie burger, for example, which is a fan favorite and sells incredibly well, in fact, about 4 times more than the industry average for burger chain selling a vegetarian product, is a 15 ingredient, beautiful veggie patty. Quinoa, lentils, mushrooms and onions, red wine and thyme. We cook the lentils al dente. We use fresh wheels of Fontina cheese that we grate after we take it out of the red wax. So this is a high-end culinary technique that is rarely found in the fast casual industry. And I think that gave us a major competitive edge in those early days.
Mm-hmm. So back to franchising as a model.
Yeah.
Had John, even though he was a successful entrepreneur and had in the food industry a depth of knowledge, he might not have had access to the capital or his own capital to 8 years later, 9 years after the business started, to have 125 units instead of 20 units. He could do the 20 units on his own.
Sure.
But even at that, there's a level to which a franchisor says, I can operate 20 myself, but operating 80 or operating 800 corporately,
right.
even though other Macy's does it,
Sure.
Whole Foods does it, non-franchise corporate-owned businesses, Starbucks is a good example, they do it, but that's not the choice, in this case, of this entrepreneur.
That's right.
So he wants to take franchising. He goes out and finds people who want to invest their time, their talent, their money, open 1 unit or open 5 units. How many of your operators are multi-unit or want to be? Do you have to buy a 3-pack or a 5-pack?
No, not necessarily. So of the 105 franchise units that we have about 60 franchise groups. And it's a mix of multi-unit operators and single-unit mom and pop style franchisees. And it's really about 50-50. We have some major multi-unit partners. We're partnered with some of the largest concessionaires in the industry, including HMS Host, Delaware North, SSP America. We have a partnership with Aramark. We recently signed late last year in 2019 a license agreement with the U.S. Air Force Services Activity. And just this past April of 2020, we signed on with Reef Technology for the delivery-only franchise model. So we have some major billion-dollar company partners on the multi-unit side. And then we also have some phenomenal single-unit mom-and-pop owner-operators, which the spirit and the love and the care that a single-unit mom-and-pop operator brings to the table is an incredible thing. Because as you said, the ability to be able to run 80 or 100 or 120 corporate stores takes an enormous amount of resources, an enormous amount of capital, an enormous amount of infrastructure, and the ability to oversee that landscape. Whereas a single unit mom and pop franchisee who is an owner operator, who is behind the brand, who loves the brand, and who uses the brand to make a living for himself or herself, has that same care and love and passion at their restaurant, in their community, in their market, and that creates a beautiful thing when it comes to brand awareness.
And so you just explained another one of the great features or aspects of the franchise model, being that you do have these individuals, sometimes represented by a corporation, but the mom and pop owner who traditionally has depended on business in America for their livelihood, they're still there.
Right.
But they're in franchised businesses now. Franchisor getting the benefit of their time and their talent and their money. Now you want to grow bigger. So BurgerFi is looking for even more capital.
Yes.
So now you're going to go public.
Yes.
So what's the motivation behind doing so? Because a lot of franchisors don't want to be public. They don't want to answer to Wall Street, for example. They want to keep their business within their family or within their walls or within their board. But why go public? Why is that BurgerFi's decision at this time?
Yeah, I think, in our particular niche of the better burger space, there's actually been a lot of activity over the last couple of years. If you look at Shake Shack, they went public. You look at Habit Burger, went public and then was later acquired by Yum. Smash Burger received a major capital infusion from Jollibee and then was later purchased in whole by Jollibee. So there's been a lot of activity in our unique segment of the better burger industry as of late. And I think BurgerFi is no different. About 2 years ago, we embarked on the idea that we wanted to bring BurgerFi to the next level. We have really grown this thing organically right here out of Palm Beach County, Florida. We've been able to partner with some phenomenal single unit franchisees as well as some of those larger scale multi-unit franchisees that I mentioned a little earlier. But we know that this brand has the capability to be a real big time player in the fast casual industry. We think that BurgerFi can get to over 500 restaurants nationwide and a lot more internationally when we get to that level. And in order to do that, we wanted to look at which route would make most sense for BurgerFi to get to that goal of becoming a 500 plus unit chain. And we explored a couple of different routes. We looked at some private equity. We met with dozens of groups. And along the way, we were introduced to the Opus Acquisition Corp. Opus Acquisition Corp set up a SPAC, a special purpose acquisition company, that they had funded with some major investors, a lot of whom have real estate development background, and they were looking for a brand to merge with and bring into that SPAC, to bring into the public sector. And we met them right from the go. We hit it off with them. When you take a great fast casual brand like BurgerFi and you pair it with a company like Opus Acquisition Corp that has huge success on the commercial real estate development side, in theory, that could be a perfect marriage. That's exactly what we need to grow and expand and develop at the rate in which we want this company to grow. And so we were able to come to an agreement with the Opus Acquisition Corp. We signed the definitive agreement back in June of this year, 2020. And hopefully, knock on this beautiful Paralam table, we'll be able to bring the company public on the NASDAQ under the ticker symbol BFI by the end of the third quarter, early fourth quarter of this year.
And then what's the plan from there? How are you going to roll out BurgerFi in the United States and internationally?
So we're looking at developing about 50 units, 50, next year in 2021. That 50 units is a combination, roughly 50-50 between franchise and corporate. So we're going to greatly increase our corporate side of the business, and we're going to continue to develop the franchise side of the business. We're looking at a two-stage process. One, capitalizing on the markets in where we already have success, such as Miami-Dade, Broward, Palm Beach County, Central Florida and the Orlando market and the greater Orlando MSA, up to the northern point of Florida in Jacksonville, over to the Panhandle, as well as, secondly, to hit some new developing markets that we know will be strong for the BurgerFi brand, such as Atlanta, Charlotte, Washington, D.C., even up to New York and the tri-state area. We think to get a few more units in Manhattan will be very good for the brand and brand awareness. We have one unit today on 82nd and 2nd in the Upper East Side, but we're looking at several more in Midtown and Lower Manhattan and others. So a combination of capitalizing on markets where we've already seen success and have proven success as a brand, as well as venturing into new markets with a clustering approach of 2 or 3 units at one time.
Well, Charlie, this has been a fascinating conversation.
Thank you so much, Sean.
And on behalf of Palm Beach Atlantic University and the Titus Center, we wish you all the best in the development of BurgerFi. And we're looking forward to you being involved with us at the Titus Center and intermingling with our students as well. That'll be a great opportunity for them and an opportunity for BurgerFi as well, because our students are quality students who make great interns and great employees, and some of them great franchisees as well.
Well, great. Yeah, to the students listening out there, BurgerFi is right on the tip of becoming an explosive brand over the next couple of years, and there's going to be a tremendous amount of opportunity. As John said, we're headquartered in North Palm Beach, Florida, and we'd love for you to come by and see what we're working on. Thank you so much, John.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.